guys were checking shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant!
Judgment, Austin.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinning.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. I have Lori tonight. Hey Lori, I know I'm tired too tonight, Lori. I'm right with you. I got some vitamin water though, so hopefully that helps. I got Denise, Baba Rose, good to see you, couponing. I have Vic, Town Chat Cafe, Captain Jules, good to see you. I have Jen, Sasha, Lady for Justice, and Suzanne. So nice to see all of you guys. So nice to see all of you. Hey TJ, good to see you. So tonight we're gonna do some more slow jam in the news, and I know that you guys were interested in talking about kind of like the different schools and stuff, but I really haven't had a chance to put together a good I guess not production, but you know, a good video that kind of portrays what I'm feeling or thinking about the schools. Hey, Detroit Rock City, good to see you. Lady Freedom, are you going to? Oh, TJ, I don't know. I don't know if I should do that up here because I'm trying to just ignore, you know what I mean? I think the best thing to do is just to ignore it because it's not helpful to Sebastian, right? You know, flyers probably should be handed out of the missing, you know, like Sebastian, Summer. There's a lot of good things we could spread awareness about. So, but thank you, Town Chat Cafe. But no, thanks for asking though, TJ. I will at a certain point. I think when the time is right. But I did address like just the bullying in general and just the craziness on the streets, because anybody that helps Sebastian is going to get the treatment, right? So like, I think of it as like a helping Sebastian like a big pie. And then all of us that are helping him are a piece of that, and we all get served up a piece every now and then. But it's not going to stop me, so it's okay. I like being a part of helping find Sebastian, going over these interviews. It's really important. Like the micro expressions is something that I'm very interested in at the moment, and I think that it's something that we can discuss and have fun with, because we're just we're internet sleuths. We're not some of us are, or we're just critical thinkers, right? So it's just something that I've been working on, and I really like slowing things down, just to kind of get a better grasp on, the little nuances that we may see in facial features that can indicate whether someone is being truthful. There's so much that we can tell from them, in my opinion. Yeah, I know, TJ. It's crazy to me that you would waste like gas money and time and, energy. I don't know. I'm just so much more into, hey, Napanoch father, good to see you. I'm so much more into, spreading awareness about Sebastian and making sure that we keep his name and his face out there, right? And we continue to come up with new ideas and theories and hypothesize about what could have happened to him. I think it's really important. I think there's certain things that we could probably catch if we really analyze the interviews and compare some of them. And so that's kind of what we're going to be doing tonight. But I just like calling it slow jam in the news, just because I think that was a thing at one point. So, thanks, Jules. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Yeah, that's a good question, Sasha. Why would Sebastian not wear a sweatshirt to the roadhouse, but one to bed? Right, I know. Well, Katie said it was a long sleeved black shirt, right? But at first, they did tell the media that it was a sweatshirt. So they told the media that Sebastian was basically wearing a sweatsuit, is what I kind of would call it, because or interpret it as, right? Because it's a sweatshirt, and like sweatpants, right? And it was supposed to be all black, right? The media was, reporting within the first 7 days that that's what we should be looking out for, is the all black, sweatsuit, if you will, just to kind of like shorten it, right? But then after a little while, we start hearing, and when Katie and Chris actually came out and started giving interviews, we started hearing different stories, right? And I've done comparisons on these very things, right? These very subjects and topics, of what Sebastian was actually wearing when he went to bed that night, because obviously we're to assume that, or we are to believe, excuse me, that he brought his glasses, right? Because his glasses were not at the house. So we have to surmise and deduct that he was wearing them, right? At a certain point when he left the house, when he was taken from the house, in my opinion. So there's that, but we went through this with Chris. So he, put out there that Sebastian, well, first Katie said he was not wearing a sweatshirt. He was wearing a t-shirt that's long sleeved, right? So a long sleeve black shirt, right? So it's a little bit lighter than an actual like pullover sweatshirt, right? Which we were originally believing that that's what he was wearing. And that's what the news was reporting. And that's why we thought that, right? Because that's what someone told them at a certain point. Whether Katie told the police and the police relayed the message over and didn't get it right, or if Katie was deliberately telling the wrong information, or maybe she was distraught and she didn't remember exactly at first, right? But then Chris comes out and he gives this more elaborate, description of Sebastian's pants. So he's like, it's a 1980s style Adidas. He's like, remember the 1970s style Adidas pants? He said that in a different interview. And then in another one, he was talking about the 90s style tearaway Adidas, right? Like those basketball shorts or basketball pants that are like tearaway ones that have buttons all down the side, and it makes it easier for the athletes to take their pants off, right? Because they have shorts on underneath of it. But he went over all of this, right? And he was continuing to tell us all of this while Katie changed it over to a long sleeve black shirt. So, but I understand where your question comes from, Sasha, because you're wondering, like, okay, well, you know, how is he wearing that to bed and not when he was out in the, you know, at the Texas Roadhouse when it was chilly that night? Yeah, we always love seeing Detroit. Baba Rose says, Lori, I don't watch those losers. What is what is he doing to our girl? Baba Rose. Oh gosh, Baba Rose. I don't even want you guys to know, it's terrible. It's okay though. We're gonna get through it. Like I said, it's no big deal. I'm tough. I am tough. And Anna Marie says, hey Lady Freedom. Hey Anna Marie, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you guys coming in. Welcome in. Sasha says, so was Sebastian last seen on the 26th in a black hoodie sweatshirt or on the 25th in a long sleeve black logo t-shirt? Can we verify? To my knowledge, it is last seen in his room, you know, going to bed, and that was his pajamas, was a long sleeve black shirt and Adidas style like pants, right, with the white stripes down the side. Hi, Here for the Truth. Good to see you. Hey, Karen Powers. Oh, gosh, I know. Yeah, he did that. I didn't know about that. Somebody, like, told me. Somebody had emailed it to me and was like, oh, that happened. And I think he was bragging about it, too, or something like that, I think, Karen Powers. Freakazoid is a good one. It's a good word for that guy. Town Chat Cafe says, yeah, I've been asking the same question all along too, Sasha. Yeah, it's really, it's confusing, right? And so that's, you know, kind of like why I put like ever-changing stories, chaos and confusion, because even when describing the, you know, he could have said black pants with white stripes down the side, but instead, you know, Chris Proudfoot goes on and on about these Adidas pants and, you know, and goes through, you know, the different styles and eras of pants that could have been possible. And so it really confuses the situation, and it makes it hard to understand what was really going on or what Sebastian was actually wearing, you know? So it's really unfortunate. And it's one of those things that I think it's, again, to create this chaotic situation so that people are thrown off guard. They can't really focus because there's so much information, things like that. So, yeah, exactly. If it's cold, sure. Yeah, you always kind of like, you know, wear a pair of sweats and a sweater. I run really like warm. So like I never would sleep in pants unless it was super cold outside, you know? And then I will have pajama pants, but, hey, show poodles. Good evening. Nice to see you. Hey, Mountain Mama. Mountain Mama says, I don't watch the drama channels. I'm here to talk and analyze true crime cases, not listen to adults having middle Ava drama. Mountain Mama, that's why we love you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I mean, you know, it's so hard to kind of stay away from it these days because it's everywhere, but I think it's important to just kind of refrain from it unless it's a topic that you want to, you know, that you want to, or that you might be curious about, because I can't lie. There's certain things that I'm curious about. There might even be creators that I would never usually watch. And if their title says something, you know, that catches your eye, you're like, okay, they're analyzing this. Let's see what they think. You know, no harm in it. But I certainly wouldn't, you know, participate in the, you know, I'd be in the bushes, you know, just observing, you know, and that sort of thing. Hey, Jen says, it's all in the eyes. You can see a person's soul just looking into their eyes, in my opinion. I really believe that too, Jen. Like that is something that is really important to me. And we were kind of talking about eye contact the other night. On, I think it was Friday, that we were talking about eye contact, and, you know, too much is, you know, awkward, but then, you know, enough is good. And I believe that too. I think if you look at people, that's why I come up here and I don't just put my avatar, because I like to interact with you guys and I want to, like, look at your faces and your avatars, and you could look at my mug all night. So, and Sasha says she's so unprepared for the cold in the roadhouse. Oh, yeah, so he's unprepared for the cold at the roadhouse, but prepared at night for the cold. So what was Sebastian prepared to leave the home for? And why was the why was the roadhouse an abrupt trip? That is a really great question, Sasha. That is a really, really great question. Because it does appear that Sebastian was unprepared for the weather, but he was over-prepared for bed. So, yeah, that's a great observation, and I agree. And I think that is a valid question, because, again, I think it does maybe, go to whether you run warm or cold, if you get cold easily or if you get hot easily. Oh, Town Chat Cafe says there was another channel or TikTok that someone stated that the person was taking out the trash with Sebastian, but that he was wearing a baseball cap. So yeah, something is not right with that info. Yeah, that's weird. I've not heard that he was wearing a baseball cap. I know that Katie was asked if Sebastian liked to wear hats, and I do remember that question being posed to Katie, and she said that he really doesn't like wearing hats. He likes hats, but he doesn't really like wearing them for a long time. So I would say, he didn't wear them, TJ says, Jen, they're doing a study on people who have been unalived because they're trying to see if the eyes are like lenses and you can replay what happens. Your brain takes about 5 to 10 minutes to process it. Yeah, that's true, TJ, or that's really true. Hey, little Redo. Hey, Blessed. Good evening. Still your Huckleberry. Aw, thank you, Blessed. Aw, that made my night. Baba Rose says, honestly, I do not think that they knew one thing about Sebastian that night, in my opinion. It sounds like it might have been made up or something, right? It really does. Because they never could. That's another thing that you made me think of, Baba Rose, too, is that they never did specify what shirt Sebastian was wearing, because they did say that there was a logo on the shirt and that it was one of 3 depictions. It was either Halloween, Minecraft, or Star Wars, right? And may the 4th be with all of you. I reshared one of my creators that I like to watch, and she posts things, and her name is Boston Bridget. She's so funny, and she posted that today. So I reposted it on my channel. And so go ahead and go to my community wall if you want to see, a funny little thing there. But Baba Rose, we never did get any kind of, confirmation there. So it's, again, another thing that's kind of chaotic. And hey, Meg, good to see you. Sasha says, oh, so the roadhouse trip was abrupt to hurry, the mean green hoodie, hurry up and eat. But when they get home, he gets dressed up for the cold. So a prepared trip because he's gone. Yeah, and that's possible too, Sasha, that it was a prepared trip. It very well could have been. Because they did change it over, because he was originally wearing sweats. And like I said, I don't know who changed it over, right? It might have been they told the police officers, and then the police officers told the media, right? Because we're going to get into that a little bit later on too tonight, that the media has really not really gotten a lot of details that we know to be different from being, online, right? There's kind of different narratives being spun out there, thanks, Papa Rose. Hey, Holly S. Good to see you. Hey, girl. And Jen says no study needed. It's true, right? Well, and we can just kind of like deduct this from past experiences and things like that, right? We can just deduct. K9, when Jared come to my house, TJ. KK says bullies not bullied. Sorry. I don't know if who you're talking about on that. And Lil Redo says, let's not think about the mess. I could not believe what I saw by the person made me wonder what it is in the end goal. What does it expect to happen? Crazy. Yeah, well, this whole thing's been a mess. You know, let's be honest. We have a child who was 15 when he was last seen, right? And now he's turned 16 back in December, and he's still missing. You know, and we're expected to believe that there's no trace. You know, he just vanished. You know, I'm never going to believe that to be true. Mountain Mama says, I'm here to talk about, analyze, and bring awareness to true crime cases, and I'm not interested in drama channels that act like middle schoolers. Keep being you. Thank you, Mountain Mama. Thank you so much. And you keep being you, too, because I think it's very important to recognize that there's many people out there that really enjoy the drama, you know, and I can't fault anybody for that, but it you know, maybe not do it in a true crime case, you know, where there's real people, you know, that are missing their kid. You know, I know it's kind of, you know, I'll do like a little silly photo of Katie here and there and Chris, you know, but I mean, that I think is a lot more mild than like, you know, going after each other like a bunch of rabid cats. Hey, Mini Panthers, good to see you. Oh, well, drive safe. I'm so glad you're here. Sasha says, so someone found Adidas pants and there was a naked mannequin in the woods, and I'm very confused here. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'll have to show you guys the mannequin. I have the mannequin on my phone, and you know, I'm not talking about that movie with that one dude from the 80s. Jen says, just watch the eyes and someone who is trying to lie. Look at the eyes. Yeah, I do believe that too. And I believe that, you know, I do believe that if you look at someone's eyes, you can tell whether they're lying. You can tell whether they have good intentions a lot of times. Sometimes you can be fooled depending on their charm level, I guess, if you will. Chloe. Oh my goodness. I just, you know how sometimes like a message might pop down and you're shout out to Chloe Jade. I love Chloe Jade. Oh my God. Hey, Vanna, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Has law enforcement ever knocked on the mannequin door? It's like Sasha. It's like so crazy, okay? Because this mannequin thing is like, I don't know, like a mascot for the town, you know? It's absolutely strange. It's absolutely strange. Oh my God. Sasha says, who is the mannequin home? Has anyone ever talked to those people? I'm not sure. I really am not sure. I'm sorry. Oh boy. Why would they have a mannequin in the woods in that type of neighborhood? It's extremely bizarre. Well, there's one that's like I'm sorry, I'm laughing so hard I can't read. I can't read. Oh boy. So there's a mannequin. I wish you know, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom was here tonight, because she said that there's a mannequin that's like in this house, right? And it's like it's the same one, and it's like, you know, right when you like enter town at a certain point. And it's quite bizarre. It's very creepy. And it's not very welcoming or inviting in my opinion. Um, hey, Canadian True Crime, good to see you. Thank you for the green hearts. And Kieran says it was when the hate channels were going at her for helping Sebastian and Seth. I think it may have been for shock value and ratings, but Betty wasn't even in the state then. Oh, Lord. Oh my gosh. Weird. That's just a waste. I would like to talk to the mannequin people, Sasha. That's funny. I have Bigfoot in my woods, TJ. Damn Sam Squanches. With red flashing eyes. Yikes. You guys are scaring me now. Hey, Just Me. Good to see you. Hey, Brenda. Good to see you. Brenda Calvert says, after all this time, you would think the mom could figure out what shirt is missing. I would think so, right? And then also, like, was he wearing socks? I'm curious to know that. I really am. Hey, SL said, if you look up the date on Google, it was not that cold that night. Yeah, it was a milder night. I will say a lot of people were bundled up at the Roadhouse, and then Katie was wearing a hoodie. But you're right, like historically, it wasn't that cold. It could have been colder for a February night. So yeah, I agree. Sasha. Hey, Miss Ann Reynolds, how are ya? Mom of 3 OG says, hey, beautiful, just stopping in to say hey, say hi. Hi, Mom of 3 OG. I will be listening on my TV. Hope all is well with you. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Aw. Hey, Butter Biscuit. Good to see you. Hey, Cinderelli. Shadow. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Michelle. Eyes are the window to the soul. I agree. And, when you look at somebody's eyes, you can just see, like you said, straight to them, right? I agree. Oh, hey, Chloe Jade. Good to see you. And Mama 3 OG says, OMG, what is that movie with all the mannequins that was a good movie. Yeah, with I can't think of the guy's name. He was in like Weekend at Bernie's, which is a really weird movie. Vanna says, sorry, but I have to admit I'm enjoying Jules' new good friends forcing her to apologize to SF and retract her research. Sorry, not sorry. I saw a little bit of that today. Guilty right here. You just caught me, Vanna. I don't know what to say about it. I haven't given it much thought after I watched it, I should say, so maybe I shouldn't comment yet until I think about it a little bit harder. Yeah, they sometimes use mannequins as scarecrows. Thank you, Karen Powers. Now that helps us a lot, right? Because that is random and weird, because you expect to see them like not really in nature, but in the storefronts and stuff like that. So that makes sense. So the crows do not like mannequins. Like a mascot for itself. I know it's weird, Sasha. She says, it's weird. It's, I'm giggling because it's like, oh boy. Mountain Mama says, as the weather gets warmer, I can't imagine what Nina is going through thinking about Faith being there. Even if the feet had nothing to do with the disappearance of a child still vanished from their home. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it just makes it a very scary situation. And then also thinking about like what little Faith must be feeling, like that Sebastian's still not home. I bet you she's really, really sad, because they were just close and they loved each other so much, or they still love each other, but you know what I'm saying? Meg. You guys got me cracking up too. Well, that's true. Oh boy. Brenda says they dress it up for different holidays. I swear it's kind of weird. Oh no. Oh my god. Oh boy. I know it's definitely I wonder Butter Biscuit. Butter Biscuit says I wonder if the mannequin passed the lie detector test. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, I dropped the referral link. You guys got me cracking up. Um, Jen, Jen says CP did say he was hiding in plain sight. Well, I mean, it's so hard. He said so many like off the wall weird stuff, right? Like, what are you going to do if this goes south? Like, that's freaking weird. Like, I don't know. I might just react and punch somebody for that one. Good Lord. Detroit Rock City says Nancy G asked KP point blank why she didn't look at the camera. She did. She said she was looking at Sebastian's pictures, like he was next to her, allegedly. That's a great, Detroit Rock City. That is a great point. So, yeah, here's the deal. We see her in the interview across from, even Holly Thompson a year in, and there's not Sebastian's picture, and she still's not made any eye, she still doesn't make eye contact unless she's telling like a really weird story about, and I shouldn't say a really weird story about Sebastian, but how animated she gets is a little bit odd to me. You know what I mean? Everybody does things differently, but it just seems odd, the leg lamp, Karen. That's funny. A little leg. Here for the Truth says there's a house in my town that has a mannequin. They love him around and dress him up. It's weird. Oh my god. I had no idea. Kind of reminds me like, well, I mean, I kind of understand why he would do it, but in The Stand, the movie by, when they did the Stephen King movie, the guy was lonely, right? And so he brought all the mannequins out to where it looked like there was people around, and I kind of understand that. If everybody was gone, it was an apocalypse. But it is quite weird. Mannequins, I don't know. Like when I was little, I loved like, I'd have my baby doll and stuff and everything. But like nowadays, like dolls are weird. Hey, meow. Dolls are weird. And they creep me out. Aw, thanks for hitting that like, you guys. You guys are awesome. And Jen says Elizabeth Smart was hiding in plain sight right here. Yeah, ESLC. And even was made to go to her own vigil. Yeah, so that is very true, right, Jen? We know that too. She wasn't far from the house. I mean, the guy come in and took her right out of her room. Her little sister did see that happen, or she saw the man. Her story is really interesting. I'd like to do some more talking about that too. We'll try to have to plan for that one of these nights. I forgot about that. Yeah, well, he was the only person that wasn't dressed warm at the Roadhouse, in my opinion, Sasha. Everyone else was wearing, long sleeves and, was pretty bundled up, in my opinion. Yeah. Andrew McCarthy is it. Ding, 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 ding. Tell her what she's won, Bob. Yeah. Thanks, Detroit. That's Andrew McCarthy, right. And the mannequin, and then Mannequin Gutenberg. That's funny. Yeah, see, and my daughter would do that too, Cinderelli, for sure. Yeah, when she was like, when she was a teenager, I was like, you need to get your coat. Like, come on, girl, what you doing? I'm not cold. Butter Biscuit, the mannequin is who was on the phone with Katie for 3 hours. Butterfist. I totally read that seriously for a minute. That's hilarious. Okay. Oh, Sasha says, is she still going there? OMG. Cinderelli, we love Cinderelli. And you have a missing child, maybe all wrapped up like a mannequin, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking, see, I think that I'm still guessing either he was carried out, in my opinion. You know, I think that's one of my main theories. Um, yeah, Babs, good to see you, hon. I've always wondered how they explained Sebastian not being there to Faith. I know, right? Because I mean, I'm sure Nina explained it to her. Um, yeah, and I think it would be really like smart to get her into some counseling. Hopefully she is. Yeah, hopefully she is. Because I've wondered that too, and it's like I hope they don't make her feel bad if she brings him up. That's something sometimes that you might see. Um, the mannequin, the mannequin pleads the fifth as well. Nice. Oh my goodness. Hey Donna. Hey Donna. Well, arguably most of the time Katie's personality is that of a mannequin. She's very, withdrawn and stuff like that, unless she's animated, which changes. Um, I know, Miss Ann, and I was on a little bit late tonight. Hey, Tammy Carr, nice to see you. And Bab says KP only smiles and looks up when she's remembering him in the past. She does do that. Yeah. And then this one was like the green tea right when she was doing that. The mannequin, the flamingo, when she's like doing that. And then I don't remember what this one was in the bottom. I just snapped it at a funny time, I think. The mannequin will be Chris's next wife. Good old Crispy getting together with the mannequin. Sammy says, I still have my Adidas pants from 2002, not tearaways lined on the inside though, and I wear them regularly. Yeah, I have an old pair of Adidas too that I wear. They're like really baggy, I like them in the wintertime for sure. Yeah, they last forever. I don't know if they were like, kind of I think they were just like pants with the white stripes down the side. I don't know that they were even Adidas, because Chris was like the Adidas style pants, of course. So some people might think they're Adidas and, they're not. I guess it doesn't really matter, right? His sixth wife. Oh, Lord. Michelle says, parents that don't mention his name or can't even look at his picture tells me one of two things. They feel guilty or they are ashamed of him and just want to move on. Yeah, I mean, we definitely get that vibe of them just wanting to move on, right? We definitely get that. I mean, they've said it, and we'll see here later on that, is in two different times they bring up other kids in the one interview. And Jewel says, I used to be so freaked out by Furbies. I remember it would start talking randomly at like 2 a.m. Freaking little demon fuzzball. Yeah. My daughter had a Furby, and like all of a sudden he was in the toy box, and I just hear like or something like that, and I'm like, what the heck was that? Yeah, they're freaky, and you think that you turn them off, and then you take the batteries out, and they're still doing it. No, I'm just kidding, but like, it's weird. They're really like random when they turn on, and I think aren't they like active? I think they're activated by like motion or something like that. But it was in the toy box when it did it. It was weird. Brenda says, I think Sebastian is close to home. Why else would so many people report being threatened when searching? Yeah, well, that's a good point, Brenda. That's a really good point. And I don't think that should be overlooked, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of threats just in general. anybody that wants to search for Sebastian, anybody that wants to talk about him. So yeah, absolutely. I think so too. Another reason I think that Sebastian might be close is because of what Chris and Katie have said in the past, right? Like they've said certain little like key indicators to you know, they like, for instance, Katie said on Queen Bee back in May of 2024 that she and Chris will take care of the immediate area and put flyers up at their fairs and, you know, in the immediate area where they live, but everybody else is welcome to do it everywhere else, right? So it was really weird. It's like, no, we'll handle that. Where you see Seth and he's like, I hope everybody passes out flyers. Here, I have a stack of flyers to pass out for you, you know, things like that. So very different, right? And I agree. I see why you would think that. Thanks, Brenda. And mannequin couponing, mannequin might be a good deterrent if you're a single woman. Yeah, really. You just like, you know, put them in like the silhouette so somebody sees like a guy sitting there. That's funny. Large muddy boots outside your door are a good deterrent. Nice. I still wonder if Sebastian wore shoes in the house or if he didn't mind barefoot touching the floor on his feet. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, or like, you know, he'd wear like you know, slippers or house shoes. Michelle says the marriage was rocky and CP and KP both have tendency for infidelity. Maybe Sebastian knew or heard something he wasn't supposed to. You know, Michelle, I was talking to one of my mods about that and she had brought that up. And I think that's really it's really smart actually, you know, because it's like, if Chris wasn't home a lot and there was something going on and Sebastian knew about it, that could be a motive. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we had discussed that. So yeah, I agree. Really great point. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, CP CP doesn't seem happy. Oh no, I just dropped that link again, guys. Sorry. CP didn't seem happy about that. Yeah, KK acted differently in every single interview, Cinderelli, and what she says is very different too. Let me go ahead since I'm kind of caught up in chat a little bit. Look at me go tonight. If you talk to the mannequin owners, could you ask them to dress them in one of Sebastian Rogers' t-shirts? Awareness. Oh, Karen Powers, that is such a good idea and so smart. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how about it? We need to have that mannequin wearing some awareness t-shirts. That is really good. Thanks, Karen. That's a good idea. Because it's like right when you come into town, you know. Baba Rose says Big Bubba's gonna be Edgar's sixth wife. Oh, oh my goodness. You guys are on a roll tonight. Sammy says that's interesting because if he was just going to put on another similar t-shirt, why not just sleep in the shirt that he had on? But if you were going to take a shower, then he would change his shirt. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I wonder if it was like normal for him to wear the long sleeve shirts at night, because I think that was a good question too, like that Sasha posed earlier. And I agree, Sammy. You know, it is interesting. Yeah, maybe because that one was long sleeved. I don't know. Yeah, no, I completely understand. I do. That's a good thing, I think. Butter Biscuit says since Chris said he was wearing Adidas instead of sweatpants, Katie had never mentioned what he wore again. Yeah, and I mean, it was just super confusing, right? I mean, it's just like going back and forth, and nobody's ever asked about the shower, Sammy. I've not heard anything about that, and she hasn't mentioned it. She said she checked Sebastian's bathroom, you know, so hey, YouTuber, good to see you. Okay, guys, let's watch this quick clip that I posted. Well, it's two because it was too long, so I had to go back and resave it. So, all right, here we go.
History that's baffled people all over the mid-state and across the country.
Yeah, 1 year ago today, Sebastian Rogers vanished from his Hendersonville home without a trace.
No matter what anyone tells you, people don't just poof disappear. A 15-year-old doesn't just vanish from his home without a trace. And that is a fact.
Any possible break in Sebastian's case has gone nowhere.
No child goes poof. He's somewhere.
Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, has also endured a year without his son.
Sebastian, son.
Seth brought in a team offering their own reward of $347,000. That's on top of the FBI's $50,000 reward.
Stop looking is to give up hope.
Hope that's still evident among volunteer searchers.
I'm not gonna stop.
Missing signs and ribbons in Sebastian's favorite color.
And God, right now we're seeking you to reveal the truth to us.
Hundreds of tips have poured in, but still no Sebastian.
Sebastian's mother and stepdad sat down with our Holly Thompson, who joins us now with how they're handling everything 1 year later. Tonight, in my one-on-one with Katie and Chris Proudfoot, you'll hear about the unwavering hope this family is clinging to and their message to you as they vow they will never give up in the search for their son.
The teen with autism disappeared from his mom and stepdad's Hendersonville home in the overnight hours of February 26th.
It actually gives us more rejuvenated hope that we may actually be onto something. We just have to run it down. We just have to run it down.
Over the last 12 months, emergency responders and volunteers spent hundreds of hours searching for the missing teen. Drone mapping, ground searches, scent dogs, and the scouring of surveillance video.
Why do you think Sebastian is still missing?
That's tough to say. I mean, it was the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. And absolutely zero evidence. There's nothing out there. Law enforcement's working due diligently. They are working hard over and over and over. Law enforcement's working due diligently. They are working hard over and over and over.
What do you want to say to anyone out there who wants to say that one of you could have something to do with Sebastian's disappearance?
I would say to pause and to think, and I would say to consider the sources of information. Try to make sure that you're getting legitimate information. Avoid the rumors.
Katie and Chris say they're determined to bring their son home and want the community to stay focused.
Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you.
Which is to viewers.
My message would be, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for helping spread him, his flyer, his story. I want to ask everyone not to forget, and I want to encourage people to keep helping and to keep bringing awareness, not only to our son, but to all of the missing children, because they all deserve to go home. I want to ask everyone not to forget, and I want to encourage people to keep helping and to keep bringing awareness, not only to our son, but to all of the missing children, because they all deserve to go home. Don't let him become forgotten. Don't let him become lost in the next story, not to supersede other children, because they all deserve just as much, if not more attention, because all children do. But I would say just please don't let him become forgotten and lost, because we're never gonna stop. We're never gonna let that happen if we can help it.
And if Sebastian's out there listening, I asked Katie what she'd want to say to him.
I would say that know that we all love you, and that there are so many people that care and so many people that are looking, and hang in there and know that we're gonna find you, know that we're gonna bring you home.
Investigating agencies say Sebastian's mom, stepdad, and biological father have fully cooperated, and there's no evidence to support foul play. Now, we also contacted law enforcement about the video in our story. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office told us that law enforcement had possession of the original video that the private investigator says is new since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. And after thoroughly investigating this lead, they determined it has no relevance to the case.
Okay, but you know, she still brought it up, right? So she still brought it up. Let's see. So we also saw in the beginning of this clip, right? And like I said, I had to break it up into two when I was trying to upload it. But what happened to running down the clip, right? Because, and I'm asking that like really to you guys, because I'm not really sure what has happened in terms of the clip, right? Because they said they were going to run it down, and then, hey, Sped teacher, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Hey, Nisi Marie. Welcome in, everyone. Good to see all of you guys. Hey, Kim. Hey, C. Taylor. Good to see you, C. Taylor. Hey, Rob Beanie. But yeah, they never did run down the clip, because shortly after that, SF like kind of skipped out of the case, right? And then we saw him tonight, I think, on a panel. So, but definitely not, you know, talking about you know, Sebastian's case. It was more or less, I think, like he was in the path of Julie's tornado or something like that. Hell if I know. But anyway, he says that, Chris says that law enforcement is, you know, working every lead, but he's shaking his head no, right? So what is coming out of his mouth is affirmative, right? It's yes. But what he's doing with his body language is negative, right? Just shaking his head. Law enforcement is doing everything that they possibly can do, you know, and it's like the opposite, right? Because if you're saying something affirmatively, you should be shaking your head yes, right? Just something there. And then also we see that the news cuts up this piece, right, and makes Katie look better than in the interview. And we've seen this a lot, you know what I mean? Thanks, Chloe Jade. You know, we've seen this a lot, you know, in Katie and Chris's statements, where the news will cut over and make it look like she was talking about just Sebastian, right? But then what she really said was she brought up other children twice, right? She says that other children also need to be found. Other children don't need to supersede Sebastian, but don't let him be lost. And that's a contradictory statement right there, right? Because, I mean, if other kids are important too, then where does Sebastian fall into that? You know what I mean? And we just see it a lot, you know, and I know it doesn't mean that every single time. Yeah, body language, Chloe. I mean, that's exactly it, you know. Why does she say I would say, like she's talking about a different person? And why wouldn't you just say I'm feeling like this etc. Right. Well, and I think all of it just doesn't add up, and when we slow it down, we can see it even more, so I agree. I don't know why she does that, I really don't. It's really odd. Um, a YouTuber says, in my opinion, CP made a point of saying Sebastian wore black pants with white stripes because he did plant the pants that Terry Lynn found. Oh, okay, that's interesting, YouTuber. The Proudfoots and the Bowersocks have proactively distracted from and wasted time and efforts of finding Sebastian. I agree. I agree with that. That's interesting, though. I think that very well could be, right, because also we know Seth was a grandfather mountain. He was busy tracking down the lead that young man that really did look a lot like Sebastian. You know, um, Spud's teacher says Katie is supposed to be advocating for her son. I know I'm not being selfish. All other kids but needs to go home as well, but she is there uh, to beg whoever has to let her son, let him go. I agree. Like, she's there pleading. She's supposed to be pleading for her son. I agree, Spud teacher. That's really a good observation too, because and it isn't about being selfish, but I've said that too. Like, I would be selfish, I guess, if that's considered selfish, because you really want to make sure that people are spreading awareness about Sebastian. Thanks, Chloe. But yeah, I completely agree. And Holly knew before the video, see, Taylor, that is so true. And it's just kind of one of the other topics I wanted to get into tonight, because we saw this again on America's Most Wanted just recently, and I've played those clips a lot, so I kind of wasn't going to pull them in tonight, right? But just for conversation's sake, they were saying things like, we all know that Seth told Nick Barris the fire ant story, right? And then Katie turns around and says, well, sometimes he would take the trash out in his socks. Sometimes, he would go outside with just socks on. And I'd be like, hey, you have to put your shoes on. But then she tells America's Most Wanted the opposite and makes it like she was telling them the story instead of Seth, who told it to begin with. And it's really like weird. And then on top of it, like you said, C. Taylor, Holly Thompson knew this before she ran with the story, and they're like, we have the exclusive clip, but then at the end it's like, but it was a nothing burger or, a big goose egg. So, and Bab says, they've only said we've been vetted and cleared, which we know is false, but haven't said we didn't have anything to do with this. Right, absolutely. And I think that would be like the first thing that you would do, but we've never heard them come out and, again, show us and tell us that they haven't done anything, right? They had nothing to do with this. We had no involvement. Sorry, Babs, I thought I popped that up. Yeah, that's a YouTuber. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Vonna says a body was found in the Nolichucky River. Did I say that right? Tennessee 3 days ago, but they are saying flood related. Another body was found in Lake Loudon Boulevard in Knoxville. Another body 6 days ago on island in Bow River, Tennessee. Wow, Vonna, I didn't know that. My goodness. Okay. Wow. Thanks for letting us know. Wow. It seems like she's still responding like she hooked up to a lie detector test, like she's thinking about how she can be truthful when she's not being truthful. Yeah, that's a really keen observation too, Sammy. I agree. Very interesting, Jules. Very interesting. Got my brain, my gears shifting here, or turning rather. Brenda says Sumner County Sheriff's Office said that they knew about the footage early on, and it was related The newspaper reporter knows this and ran lying narrative anyway. Oh, says it wasn't related. Excuse me, Brenda. I'm sorry. Yeah, Sumner County Sheriffs did have the footage early on, and it wasn't related. Absolutely. And then they run with it anyway and show it, and it's just weird. You know, I don't know why they would do that, and I don't know why they would, like. It's almost like they think that we're not paying attention or something, you know? And it's like, if we follow the case, we know these things already, you know? So it's either that, maybe they don't think we're paying attention, or maybe they're directly running with false narratives. You know, I mean, Sammy says, and I don't believe that there was a picture of Sebastian on the table. I think she was looking at the notes. Yes. Or she was looking at the picture of Sebastian with her notes next to it. So if someone asked, she could pick up the picture. But if she really had a picture, you'd think she'd pick it up and show the camera. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. Or have a picture in between of them, you know, like in a frame or something. That's very true. Yeah. And then, of course, you see her not making eye contact when Holly Thompson's sitting right across from her. You know. Oh, good point, Meg. Yeah, the flooding of rivers is usually when people come to the surface. Yeah, yeah. I don't think Seth has ever been diagnosed with Asperger's, Kim. I've never heard that ever. And there's nothing wrong with it, if that is true. But I don't think it is. Robbie says something off about saying I would say this or that. You're talking about yourself. It's just weird. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. It is weird. And we see a lot of these weird behaviors from Katie, you know, and maybe, I don't know if it's because she's nervous or, you know, what's going on, but it's just always something new and different. We don't know which personality we're going to get. Michelle says, of course, KP wouldn't check on Sebastian. She was busy on her 3-hour phone call. Are we sure it was CP? What job going to let you talk on the phone at work for 3 hours, especially if a crane operator? Well, you know, I think back then, Michelle, he was working the day shift. But then again, when he was working the overnight shift or the night shift, he was on, you know, panel with Smiley, and, you know, he was on panel with Clue the one time. He said, when you work in a crane, you get bored. When you work on a construction site, you get bored. I'm like, oh, I don't know about the crane, but, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard a construction worker say that, ever. Bab says, if my son were missing, no other children would matter to me. Selfishly, I would be begging for help from, everyone. And on every channel, on every radio, any platform. I agree, Babs. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that probably, it's not like, I know a lot of parents that turn to advocacy. Well, we see Joe Petito. But then again, they found Gabby, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. I guess that's a horrible analogy for me, Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it doesn't matter in my opinion either, Cinderelli. Yeah, absolutely. We're all different, we're all different. Oh, okay. Is it the same one from the Roadhouse? Oh, wow. Nisi Marie says, hey, y'all, did you all notice that she is wearing the same shirt in the interview at the Texas Roadhouse? That is creepy. She is doing that on purpose, in my opinion. I'm going to have to check that later. That's interesting. Yes, yes, I did, Babs. Yes, I did. And he said that over on, oh gosh, used to be Justin on TikTok, right? Yeah, he did say that. So Bab says, did you hear that Gabby Petito's dad and her foundation were threatened if they came to help search for Sebastian? Yeah, and really what it was that Seth was supposed to have Joe Petito on the live, and it was announced before, and he got a flood of threats to the foundation, to the Gabby Petito Foundation. And unfortunately, he declined then to come up, and it's very unfortunate. Those are just the things that we're seeing, right? Like, if, you know, I talked about the piece of the pie, but, you know, unfortunately, it seems like Seth bears the brunt of that a lot. And let's just be honest. I mean, you know, with drama, people are not going to want to get involved, or when people think they're going to be threatened and things like that, it's going to deter them from helping. You know, it's just kind of a natural reaction. Yeah, or even come on a panel to speak about Sebastian. Right, exactly, Babs, exactly. It's so wrong. You know, it's just so wrong. You know. Oh, you just now heard that, Kim? I've never heard that, you know. Yeah, I understand. Um, I wonder who said that. Seth and Lady that commented, they were both in chat. He was agreeing with her just now. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I've not heard that either. No, yeah, Cinderelli's not trying to see that. Gab says the Proudfoots think everyone is an idiot because of how LE believed them in the first 5 days, Sebastian being gone. I think so too. I think they really, you know, thought that they were Duper's delight. You know, they were glad that they got one over. You know, unfortunately, I agree. I know I'm confused too. Here for the Truth says, also, I'm pretty positive there was someone behind the camera in that interview. You can hear someone coughing and clearing their throat, and it's not one of them. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. It was loud in the camper that day, right? It was loud in the camper that day. So, um, oh, okay. Hey, Cece. Yeah, that's interesting, Karen. I didn't know that. Oh, mini Panthers. That's such a good point. Most parents hug those missing kids' photos. They do. They'll have them, you know. Yeah. Oh, that's so true. That is so true. Oh, okay. Alrighty, Kim. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I did not know that. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. You know, I mean, we all have different things, right? Hey, Starflower. Yeah, you have to be diagnosed, right? I would think. Yeah. Yeah, Starflower says Asperger's is no longer used to describe someone on the autism spectrum. That is very true, Starflower. Yeah. Some people still use it, I think, if they were in the, you know, time that they were. Because I know there's a lot of self-proclaimed Aspies out there that like it, you know, that have adopted the term. So, oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Katie has, like, I think she might have a personality thing, Babs. I don't know. I don't think there's anything, like, more than that, though. I don't know. I just know that she does change it up. But, you know, sometimes people do that on purpose, right, to throw things off. And then sometimes people mirror match other people, too, to manipulate the situation. So Baba Rose says Edgar knows in that side view is getting longer from all of his lies. Baba Rose, that's funny. Oh, I see. Yeah, Kim says he just typed it in a chat after a lady typed a paragraph explaining it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you, Kim. Sped teacher says Katie betrayed her own son for that piece of garbage that belittles women and talks down to women. I agree, Sped teacher. I agree. And I really can't ever get that out of my head when we hear that it was alleged that there was ultimatums, it's him or me kind of a thing. Um, you know. Oh, okay. I believe Pascal was who helped Seth initially. Could sense that Seth could really use the help of someone like Tony, and I've seen it a real blessing to Seth. Yeah, to have his support. Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need people, right? We all need people we can trust. Trust is a big thing. If you feel like you can trust somebody, it's really a good thing. It's sad when other people misuse your trust and then you're in a position where you don't trust anybody. And you just have to go by what the person has done, I think, more than even what they've said. Yeah. Bab says the only thing mental about KP, in my opinion, is she is a sociopath. Yeah, I know. Well, and you would see those tendencies, yeah. Yeah, that is true, Meg. I agree. I think that's probably the smart way to do it. I'm not going to speak on anyone's possible diagnosis in here or speculate on anyone. I also won't run with rumors. Yeah, because there's so many out there, right? And then also, like, the reason why I modded Seth in here is so when he comes into chat, I know it's him, and we know it's him. Hello, Seth. How you doing? It's not like a clone or something like that, A clone. We don't want it to be Dr. Evil. And Cinderelli says, on those ugly streets of YouTube, it could be anyone. There's an account out there that is like one letter off and you just can't take rumors as fact. Cinderelli, that's so true. Absolutely. And like I said, again, that's why people have wrenches that way. When they come in, you can identify them. Kim said if Seth had not followed this accusation with a text confirming, I would not mention it. I wouldn't be verified as a rumor. Yeah, it's just hard to tell like who's who. It is Kim. There's a lot of people who have alts and that clone accounts as well. Did he have a wrench in there by any chance? Hey, Rogue. Not to say that it's, it could be him without a wrench. I'm not saying that, but too many people doing stupid things. Oh, Lord. I know. Oh, my. It's everywhere. It's like, oh, boy. And so a teacher says Katie is mental unfoldable abuse for so long with Christopher, and also her own childhood trauma that she feels she has nowhere out. Yeah, she has to stay in that environment because she's so comfortable. I agree with that, Sped teacher. I do. I think, there is a comfortability even in a traumatic situation, because it's like there could be a trauma bond. And we talked about that too a few days ago. So it's absolutely very, very possible for that to be true, I think too. And it's, we're dealing with these dynamics in this case, and, it just kind of goes with what we see historically in other cases, kind of that path. But, and Napa Nat says, Kimberly, why does it matter if it's true? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think, like I said, we're all different. I mean, we're all going to have something, right? Robbie and Ian, that's what I'm wondering. Why would it matter if he did? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. I mean, either way. Um, Seth hasn't been in here tonight. Apparently he's in someone else's chat, so I'm mad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. Cinderelli says, I'm going to have to hear it from the person. I would never, ask if it doesn't matter. Yeah, and it just doesn't matter. I mean, because it's just like, it's like speculating on anybody's health is probably not the best thing to do, I just, and I wouldn't want anybody like asking him in here either. I think that's kind of not very nice. Aw, thanks, Rogue. Thank you. Because like I wouldn't want somebody like say I don't even know what a good analogy would be. I just don't think it's proper to speculate. And Sped Teacher says, Babs, exactly. I think Katie has a lot of mental issues and maybe she snapped and did something to Sebastian horrific. Yeah, I'm wondering about that too, Sped Teacher, and that's always at the back of my mind because, it's just very off. Like all of the interviews are so off. You know what I mean? They just really, really are. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Plus, we'll support Seth no matter what. Really. I mean, he's always looking for Sebastian. That's his main goal, and we support that. That's what really matters. Hey, Borna Honey. Borna Honey says, in my opinion, the police knew how they are too, which is why they are taking their time to make things solid. They aren't dumb. Just keeping what they know quiet. Yeah, absolutely, Borna Honey. That's a really good point. I believe that too. I do. They have to make sure. They just have to. I feel you, Sasha. Mannequin. The sixth wifey. Hey, MS, good to see you. Thank you for smashing that like button. Thank you. Yeah, he's trying to brag that he didn't leave any evidence because he knows what he did. Ugh, Sped Teacher. I mean, and the bragging is what's awful. I mean, it really gets to me. That does. And Detroit Rock City says, it doesn't matter here nor there. It doesn't have anything to do with Sebastian going missing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's just like, I guess if I had a diagnosis, I wouldn't want people to like speculate on it and stuff, Yeah. Rogue says, I think she has psychological issues. Yeah. And so does he. Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I do too. And it's amazing, the trauma that people can have. And that's what really causes all of that too. Well, Red, are you lurking? You got to whistle while you lurk? I like that channel. I had to go check on the mannequin couponing. Is the mannequin okay? Does he need anything? Do they? I guess it would be a they. Do they need anything? Oh, I don't know. I don't watch Mike Damon. I don't watch Mike Damon a lot. Wow. Oh my gosh. Karen says Seth told us that he has over 200 accounts that were set up to falsely represent him. That is bonkers. I can't believe that, Karen. My goodness. Crazy. Oh, I like Sweetie Pilo, Rogue. I like her. She's a sweetheart. Sped Teacher says, you're right. Katie mirrors everyone else to manipulate the situation and make her look like the innocent party. That is what you call a narcissistic person. Absolutely. Yeah. And also like that chameleon, like she will, If somebody's got a country accent, she'll have the country accent. If, you know, she goes on Nancy Grace, she uses more of like a regional diction, you know, and not to say, I don't know, we all have different accents, you know, and I get it. If you've lived in two different places, you might pull from both, you know, and things like that. But absolutely, I think so too, Sped Teacher. I do. Aw, Rogue. Okay, so there you go. A psychopath mirrors everyone else's personality to fit in. Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's just something very odd about it too, you know? Very odd. Rogue. Aw, thank you for the green hearts, Lori. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and let me play this clip because I'm not too far behind in chat, am I? No, I'm pretty good. I think I'm good. Oh, Rogue says like a psychopath does not know how to react or behave, so they learn and pick up from other people's reactions. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, narcissists do the same thing. They do, because they will learn how to feign empathy and things like that, right? So it makes them look like they have compassion, but they're really just mirror matching people. But yeah, great point, Rogue. Great point. Bab says, "Good Lord, don't send her up with the insanity. Don't set her up for the insanity defense." That's the last thing we need, right? Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, here, let's play this. And this is just a short one. This is another short.
The Amber Alert for Sebastian Rogers is still active, and the Sumner County Sheriff's Office says they're still looking for him. The sheriff posted on Facebook that his team is still following every lead and analyzing all evidence. The sheriff's office says there have been no confirmed sightings of Sebastian, but they haven't stopped trying to find him. They ask anyone with information to call TBI tip line.
The last time I saw my son was when he went to bed.
Tonight marks 1 year since Sebastian Rogers disappeared from his home near Beach High School in Sumner County. He's 16 now, but there are still no confirmed sightings or leads in the case.
Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino sat down with Rogers' mother, Katie Proudfoot, and the search for her son and the ongoing public scrutiny surrounding this investigation.
3, 2. A voice and an exuberant smile that have been missing for a year that Sebastian Rogers has gone without his favorite things.
Cats are the number one. He loves animals, almost all animals.
Animals, video games, books, and any chance in the pool.
He loves water. He swims like a fish.
Sebastian also missed his birthday.
December 7th. He turned 16, and he should be home for that. December 7th. He turned 16, and he should be home for that.
But Sebastian, who has autism, hasn't been home since February of last year. After dinner at the Texas Roadhouse on the 25th, Katie says she and her son went home.
Did anything happen the night he went missing that was like caused him to run away? Was he punished in any way? An argument? Just a normal night?
It was a normal night. It was a calm night.
That turned tumultuous by the next morning.
It was when I went in his room and he wasn't there. He wasn't in his bed.
Katie says she frantically searched the house and drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. until she and Sebastian's stepfather, who says he was away for work at the time, called police. Katie says she frantically searched the house and drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. until she...
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take. I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
Monday morning, Katie went to her son's room. It was about 6 in the morning when I went to wake him up for school. Katie said, I went in his room and I was like, dude, time to get up. Normally he will like turn and look, and he didn't. And I realized he wasn't in bed, Katie said. I'm gonna have to call bullshit on this one. Unless Sebastian arranged his pillows as if he was trying to sneak out of the house, then Katie would have known that Sebastian wasn't in his bed when she went into his room, because all she would have had to do is look at his bed and know that he wasn't in there. The following moments are every parent's worst nightmare. I looked everywhere in and around the house. I couldn't find him, Katie said. I checked his bathroom and he wasn't there. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he went to the kitchen. You know, maybe he got up before me. And so I went through the house. And when I didn't see him is when I was starting to panic a little bit, Katie said. And I ran through the house, like literally every area of the house, everywhere. And that's when I really started to panic. Katie says she jumped in her car and began driving around the neighborhood. Katie also called her husband, Chris, Sebastian's stepfather, who was out of town on a business trip at the time.
And Sebastian's stepfather, who says he was away for work at the time, called police.
We need you to search your properties every day.
But an Amber Alert and an extensive week-long search didn't yield one significant lead or even a glimpse of the boy on any doorbell cam video. Days later, investigators combed through a landfill 2 hours away, still saying they had found nothing.
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
But at this point, you don't rule it out?
We're not ruling anything out.
Okay, guys. And again, we see that with Eric Craddock at the end there. I should have probably slowed that down a little bit for us too. But he says, you know, there's no indication of foul play, right? Negative is coming out and positive is shaking, right? His head, yes. So he should say there's no evidence of foul play, but instead he's saying there's no evidence of foul play. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. Hey, Kiki, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. So we hear about the bathroom check, and that was in the Dateline interview, right? But we never heard about the bathroom check before from Katie. She's never mentioned that in any other interview, right? But there's 32 minutes that are unaccounted for. 32 minutes unaccounted for with Katie, right? Because it's 6. It's always been at 6 o'clock. She wakes up Sebastian for school. So what happened in that 30 minutes? Arguably 30 minutes could be a long time, right? And I'm being generous giving away the 2, right? We'll just give the 2 away. But 30 minutes unaccounted for, because we see her at 6:32 driving through the neighborhood, and that is a photo from Katie driving down Kellen. Right. But her windows are rolled up. It doesn't look like she is really searching for Sebastian. It's been alleged that she was going fairly fast. A lot of people would say she was going very fast down the street, especially if you were looking for someone, right? You would have your car windows down and you would be yelling out the car, trying to get their attention or trying to find them. Now, another discrepancy that we see in this clip is that Chris tells Dateline that he was on a business trip, but Fox 17 says that he was away for work, which is what we've heard the entire time, right? And some people would say, you know, Lady Freedom, potato, potato, tomato, tomato, you know, but again, it's just these weird little nuances in their story that change. You know, Chris wasn't away on a business trip. It's not like Chris was a salesman and he was traveling and he had to go, you know, to to a meeting or anything like that. He was a crane operator and he worked out of town. Big difference, right? Big difference. Aw, good to have you, Kiki. Thanks for being here. Well, that's true, Rogue. Good point. So does the person with borderline personality disorder. Absolutely. Absolutely. We will see those traits for sure. For sure, for sure. Every once in a while, I go off in Spanish and I don't even know it. Sasha. Sasha, you're crack me up all the time. Oh my goodness. Bam says the last time I saw my son is when he went to bed, per Katie. That was after they got home from after Texas Roadhouse, when he was playing in his room from 7 to 9. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's true. Last time I saw my son was when he went to bed. Yeah. And then, of course, the thud and the noise isn't added into every single one of their stories either, which is interesting. And it changes, right? It changed from a noise, it was also described as, she heard something in Sebastian's room, right? And then we hear the thud on Nancy Grace. So, oh, you're quarter Cuban, Sasha. That makes sense then. And Kiki says, honestly, who deep breathes and looks like that? I looks up like that. Yeah. She's always doing the deep breathing, and it's when she messed up that time, right? When she did the slip up. And slowing it down, it does look like she was saying shit, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, type of a thing. So, yeah. Babs. Babs says, Sasha Johnson, I'm from Tennessee, but I can do a Brooklyn accent on a dime. I love that. That's so funny. I love accents, and I love, doing that. It is funny, right? And Baba Rose says he would have really Katie busted. Exactly. Yeah, and I wanted to slow that part down. I meant to slow one of them down right before that, and I guess I missed it on the second go round. But yeah, he should have, and then busted. Yeah, Baba Rose, and it's hard for people when they're lying to kind of keep up with it, right? It's just like that Freudian slip, an unconscious kind of slip, right? So, well, and I do think that they got rid of things. Oh yeah, Sasha, I do. That's my opinion. Why else wouldn't they have, yeah, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, why would they have left their house to do the interview when Sebastian went missing from his room? It would have been nice to have that, yeah. Got rid of the cats, got rid of the toys, yeah. Got rid of the snake. Yes, Sasha, yeah. Oh, yeah. Karen Powers says, I'm praying to God that she's not now trying to use multiple personalities as a defense. I think she's loonier rather than a narcissist with a self-centered personality and anger issues. Yeah, absolutely. And, that's true. And they call it, like, what is it? Dissociative disorder. Yeah. And I mean, with trauma, I think that's probably a concern we would have, Karen. That's a good point. MS says it makes my blood boil when KK says the cats are his favorite, but she took all of the cats away from him. Yeah, you could have gotten an allergy shot instead of for baby CP. Absolutely. It is maddening. I agree, MS. It's like, what are you talking about? We all know. And see, those are the things that we all know online, but not everybody knows those things, and it is really frustrating, because I think if people would know that, like, for instance, America's Most Wanted, And, I guess at the end of the day, to have Sebastian's face and, his story out there somewhat is a good thing. But, it's very frustrating because we know that, we know. And honestly, if I had the interviews, I would have sent them over to America's Most Wanted. Like if that was my interview, I think that would have been, a very important thing for them to know. Look, this is what he had to say about the cat that you have in this picture, right? I'm assuming that's the same cat or one of the cats that he had to get rid of. When's the last time they went to the pool? I don't know, Yeah, everything and everyone is disposable in CP's eyes, in my opinion. I agree with that, Meg. I agree 100%. Most definitely. And YouTuber says Bab's great point about not setting KP up for insanity defense. Yeah, we don't want anything like any mitigating factors, right? Yeah, absolutely. Because who knows what they're gonna claim, I mean, we don't know. And Michelle says, OMG, did you catch? She said he would have been, and then caught herself and correctly slowly he will be 16. She talked in the past tense as if she was stating a fact, not normal dialogues for innocent mom. I agree. And she almost like looks, and I could be wrong, but I mean, it looks like she's saying, oh shit, kind of shit moment, when she looks up and she's like, shh, and then she's like, and breathes, so absolutely, Michelle, I agree. It's very off. And Bab says KP had to walk through the kitchen to get to Sebastian's room. Why would she go to the kitchen to see if he's in there? Absolutely, right? Yeah, she would have seen him, in the kitchen. I'm sure, and Sebastian would have said, hey, mom, or good morning, or something. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure if Sebastian was a morning person or not. And teenagers are different. Oh, thank you, Captain Jules. I appreciate you. Jen says there is no pain, no anguish, no empathy in them. Cold steel blue, empty eyes, in my opinion. I agree, Jen. Yeah. And you can see that. And I think that's why they choose not to do so many interviews like this. Hey, Adam Forever 21, good to see you. And Mountain Mama says, I can't remember if his bed was made or had it been slept in when KP went to wake him up. That's a great question. That is a great question, because that's what I was saying. Like, the minute that you go into the bedroom, you're going to see like an unmade bed, right? Or a bed that was still made that maybe he didn't sleep in it. Maybe he just laid on the top of the covers and, just say hypothetically that he was planning all of this and he decided to do this. But again, if he was hypothetically planning to do this, he would have arranged the pillows, for when you sneak out of the house, you're arranging the pillows, and making sure that it looks like a person, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a good question, Mountain Mama. I wonder, because then the minute that you walk in there, you're going to see the bed with no one in there. She's like, usually he'll turn and look, but that's only if you see like a pillow or whatever. So that's a good question, Mountain Mama. Sasha, she doesn't know what he was out because she was spent 3 hours on the phone and then was missing. That was neglectful, in my opinion. Well, yeah, the fact that she didn't go and check, absolutely, Sasha. Yeah, because any of us would have done that. We would have looked over at the clock. We would have, you were supposed to be in bed an hour ago. I let you stay up later, buddy. Let's get to bed. You peek your head in and say something like that, or knock on the door. Hey, bud, everything cool? Hey, can I come in? Because she had said, I don't want to just barge into my 15-year-old's room, and I understand that. But knock on the door, that sort of thing. Thanks, Rogue. Thank you. She never said either way. Yeah, Babs, I agree. Oh shit! Oh shit! The hell up, Sheriff Craddock. He's a thug right along with them. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, you know, it's looking that way. It is. It is. Meg says, taking away cats, toys, snake, school, looking for behavioral facility, and he's gone. Absolutely. I mean, all of that. It's like, what the heck, you know? Yeah, I agree. Couponing says Sebastian t-shirt. Shot, yes, I know, Rogue. Michelle, Michelle says, you're fine, Rogue. Michelle says, as she said that statement, she had a look as if seeing it and it happened in her mind with no emotions. Yeah, that's a good point, Michelle. Yeah. Yeah, as she said the statement, she had a look as if she was seeing it as if it happened in her mind with no emotions. And, we've seen that a lot. And then we see like the forced emotions and the tears and things like that. I agree. Yeah, that's a great observation. Captain Smuggle Struggle. That doesn't come to the rescue. Oh, Lord. Okay, I'll behave myself. Karen says, Michelle, yes, I know the worst is a possibility, but I hope and pray for the best still. Sebastian deserves to be here with those who truly love him and miss him. Aw, thanks, Karen. I agree. I agree. Yeah, MS says, I never heard. Was the bed made or slept in? We should ask Seth what he saw when he got there. That's a good question. Yeah. And I know people had been in the room before that, but, it's not like they're going to look in the bed. You can see that nobody's in there, So I don't know why law enforcement would believe the hogwash, Sasha. That's, what I've been thinking about here lately. I don't understand. They're allowing for a lot of this nonsense too, like within their own town, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. Oh, Meg, yeah. Sorry, I forgot his underpants were taken away as well. Yeah. How about it? It's just maddening. Well, that's a good point. Too, Babs. Babs says I'll always believe that CP was there Thursday in town, maybe not at the house. Well, I really think he was staying at his mom's. I mean, is what I've kind of concluded. And I could be wrong, Babs, but I agree. I think he was in town. I think he took off Thursday. And then couponing says, Megan, how many red flags are there in this case? I know. How about it, couponing? Just tons. I mean, it would be at least a 12-hour video, I think, to put it out, Sammy says, would you have said that your 15-year-old daughter was playing in her room? Never. No. I would say, she was in her room, doing whatever, and I mean, and most 15-year-olds, let's just be honest, are usually on the phone. I mean, in the phone, on the phone, TikToking, on the phone, doing something, you know what I mean? No, I agree, Sammy. That's a great point. That is a great point. Sasha says, there are extremely ridiculous statements riddled throughout these interviews. It's almost embarrassing for me to hear. I agree, Sasha. Oh boy. Wasn't his phone plugged in? Yes, I did hear that, MS. Says Babs, and also wasn't his phone left plugged into the charger in the kitchen? Seth said that he saw it on the counter, when he came in. No idea saying hanging out in their room. Yeah, hanging out in their room, Robbie, is probably a good one for sure. Yeah, they're like hanging out in there, talking usually with friends or whatever, or playing a video game. Maybe, if your kid's a gamer, you might be like he's playing a game, but typically we use that term gaming, gamer. So he's gaming. Jen says Sheriff Snuggle Struggle going to be losing his qualified immunity being too close to this case, in my opinion. Jen. That very well could be if they get investigated, I think he needs to hand the case over. It's just been too long. And Meg says, with all that was taken away from Sebastian, as per Mr. Chris, KP should be so ashamed of herself. She isn't a mother, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Moms don't do that. Yeah, why would he run away without a coat or shoes? They're full of crap. He also had a bank that had money in there. He didn't take any money with him or anything. He didn't take anything, If he loved his Switch and loved playing on it, wouldn't he bring his Switch with him and his charger for his Switch? Things like that, So, yes, Babs says phone on the counter in the kitchen, but Sebastian used his phone as an alarm to wake up. So why was the phone on the counter in the kitchen? Really good question, Babs. I mean, come on. It should be on his bedside table, right? If he uses it, I mean, I keep mine on my bedside table too, because I use my alarm, for my alarm. And Rogue says, do you know, I believe that the eyeglasses of Sebastian's were found, and I think that law enforcement threw them out or didn't take any fingerprints. They were found 0.3 miles away from Bowersock's home. Yeah, not far away at all. And then they swore that they weren't his glasses. Yeah. Great point, Rogue. I mean, we just never know. Yeah, exactly. Me too, Babs. And you could snooze your phone too, just like a regular alarm. Yeah. Sasha says, yes, Rogue, there's something to it. And Jen says, why wait 8 days to get the first interview out for him? He's missing. Right? And they went right to YouTube too. They didn't go to the news outlet. They went straight on YouTube. Really strange, like they wanted to get ahead of the narrative quickly. Hey, forget me not, good to see you. Bab says, I think those were dismissed way too soon with his optometrist consulted to check this prescription. Good point. I don't know. I highly doubt it. I mean, just with how things went in the beginning there, and how they seem to be going. Yeah, Sammy says Letitia Stout said she had DID. Maybe that's what KP's going for with her voices. I think Lori Vallow did have DID. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people who have great trauma do end up having the dissociative identity disorder, or DID, and I think that would almost fit in there, right? Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Lori Vallow did. No, I'm just kidding. Town Chat Cafe says, not sure when Chris said this, but this horrible, if you really knew what Sebastian was like, you would stop searching for him, and also said you're never going to find him. I mean, who says that? It's weird, right? It's weird. Sasha says, and she has the nerve to mention cats. You believe it? That's sick. Why doesn't she tell what she did with the cats? But no one don't mention that. She's evil, in my opinion. KP is evil. Yeah, Sasha. I mean, it is. It's diabolical is what I mean. If we're being honest, that's absolutely diabolical. Here's a picture of him with his cat, even though this was a cat that we made him get rid of. And then, oh, he loves cats every single time. And we all know that, of course. Of course we know that she's telling the truth. It's just that she would even bring it up, right? Like, how dare you, after making him get rid of his cats? I mean, it's just, Bab says Town Chat Cafe, OMG. I remember that, shocked. And I was like, WTF. And Rogue says, I don't know if Sebastian's optometrist was contacted, but Seth went ahead with what they said, shaking my head at first. He said they resemble Sebastian's eyeglasses. Yeah, I think he did he did say that, Rogue. I remember him saying they do resemble them, but they're waiting back, to hear back from law enforcement. Minnie Panther says, in my opinion, cats were a test for CP to see how far she was willing to go for him. In my opinion, if she said cats stay, he would have walked. Yeah. I agree, Minnie Panthers. Yeah. And, it's also testing the boundaries, right? And pushing to see how far Katie would go and, to keep him, right? Ugh. Absolutely, Minnie Panthers. I agree. Her son is gone and she brings up cats she got rid of and broke his heart. And she's laughing. People, devilish. Yeah, for sure. In my opinion, I definitely see that as diabolical behavior. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I cannot argue that. Why would you do something like that? Yeah. MS is not sure if it's okay to say another creator's name. Sorry, but 5D did a great post one day ago of all of the America's Most Wanted missed. Oh, cool, MS. I love 5D. Yeah, I like 5D. Bab says, Rogue, yes, but he also went along with the lights being a trash truck, total gaslighting from Proudfoots and Ellie. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's another reason why we don't trust, the sheriff, right? Is because we were lied to by him, and they're allowed to lie to us, but it just, leaves a bad taste. And Carrie Starr says, I sometimes wonder if they were his old glasses implanted there, the ones in all the pictures except for Texas Roadhouse, the glasses were different. It seemed one person found many of the items too. Somebody did a comparison. I can't remember who it was now, but we've all kind of speculated on the picture not being from Costco, right? Where Sebastian's wearing the Optimism t-shirt, and the glasses that he's wearing in the Optimism t-shirt on Saturday, right? Or the ones we're supposed to believe is on Saturday, are completely different than the ones that he was wearing at the Texas Roadhouse. There are differences in his haircut. If you just go back and look, it's amazing. So I can see that. There's been so much, fuckery in this case. It's unbelievable, really. And I think it's orchestrated by Chris. I really do. That's my conclusion that I've drawn from it. Even the harassment, the bullying, a lot of that stuff, he's behind a lot of it with his cohorts, Crabtree, Terry Lynn, all of the usual suspects, Clue and Cletus. You have them doing a lot of that stuff, making reenactments, messing with that sort of stuff. It's all okay if they go up in the neighborhood and do those things to make the Proud Feet look good, in my opinion. We've seen that, the dragon breaths, Baba Rose. That's funny. Adam Forever 21 says Seth needs to request photocopies from law enforcement. He's entitled to have those. Yeah, that's a good idea. Adam Forever 21. Yeah, I agree. I don't know how that all works in, in Tennessee. Hey, Lolo. And Bab says, Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives question, why would KP leave a blanket and snacks on the porch if Sebastian used a code to enter and exit the front door? Why wouldn't he have been able to use the code? That is such a good point. And I agree. I always thought that was weird. And I know that was something that Clue had come up with. Again, kind of, and that's what I mean. I'm not blaming anybody for something they didn't do, but that's a prime example right there of when Clue came out and said that, that Katie put snacks out in the backyard for Sebastian with a blanket, like the Yoo-hoo and stuff. That's one of his favorite drinks is chocolate milk, and the Yoo-hoo stay, and everything like that without being refrigerated, da 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 da. But you're absolutely right. If Sebastian knew the code to the front door, if he decided to come home, he would go right in the front door and he would go get himself a snack, right? So I totally agree, and that's a great point. I think that was all, in my opinion, a fabrication, and to make it look like Katie is a grieving mother, in my opinion, because I know Katie didn't come out and say that. I believe Clue's the only one that said that. And if I'm wrong, correct me. But Lolo says, someone told me something once. Good to see you, Lolo. And Couponing says, in the reenacted on AMW, she still had her windows up. Yeah. Absolutely. Still had her windows up. Good point, Couponing. Sammy says she just repeated all the things that Seth said he liked since her penny and paperclip comment didn't go over well. I don't think he is going to do anything since all of the abuse started. Diapers at the pool. Yeah. Well, and another thing that you made me think of just now is that Sebastian in the flamingo picture was wearing water shoes, so he was even wearing shoes in the water. You could tell he'd like to have his feet covered up, especially outside. And I agree with you. That's well said. Yeah, she's just repeating the things that Seth said, because Seth is better received than what she says. You know what I mean? It's very odd. I don't think it's going to end well either, MS says, Adam Forever 21, yes, I would be asking to see all the evidence. Rogue says, Carrie Star, I consider that as well, but the glasses were found close to Gallatin. In my opinion, I don't think that they would have planted eyeglasses that close unless he is in the opposite direction. Oh, that's a good point, Rogue. That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. I think he had a couple of pairs of glasses, Rogue. I'm trying to think back when Seth was saying about his glasses, because I know that he had to have them replaced because he had broke a couple pairs of them. So I'm wondering, if that was it. Carrie, C. Taylor says, talking with different accents would not be a sole consideration in diagnosing dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder. There are several criteria for DID. Yeah, and it's a rare disorder, right? Thank you, C. Taylor, for breaking that down, because it's true. It's a rare disorder, and it definitely comes from extreme trauma. When I took psychology in high school, we watched that movie with Sally Field. It's called Sybil, and Sybil had multiple personality disorder, or like you said, because that's what it was called, or dissociative identity disorder, and which is what it's known as now. And basically, it explains it better for dissociative disorder, right? Because basically you're dissociating and you're going into a different identity, because it's a coping mechanism from extreme trauma, right? So like with Sybil, she was brutally abused and essayed by her mother. And so then she started coming up with these different personalities, kind of compartmentalizing in their brain, right? So, you would have the personality that was the younger version. The other one was a different person. The other one was a different person, all within the same person, right? Um, so that's interesting, C. Taylor. Yeah. And it's all to cope from extreme trauma, but you can't help when it's coming on, and and that sort of thing, right? Because like you're triggered, and then all of a sudden you go into this, right? You dissociate from the situation, your identity changes, right? Sort of thing. That's the best breakdown I can do. But yeah, and Sybil is the movie, and so it really kind of tried to like portray a woman who had that disorder, and she has a psychiatrist that she goes to see, and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, Carrie, I go back and forth with that. Carrie says, I don't think he's in an institution. They don't have the money for it. That's why Seth was taking him. Yeah, I go back and forth with it. I really do. I do. And I want to talk about the schools a little bit more one day. Like I said, I want to kind of get a good presentation going for you guys on that. So, because I mean, I think it could be a possibility, not to say, just something to kind of speculate on, but MS says, if it was me at this point, I would be suing the Proudfoots with a civil lawsuit. Then they all get shit come out of court with a jury. Yeah, well, they would be deposed, in a civil suit. Yeah, I know, MS. Yeah, yeah. Maybe a church group or a cult. That's interesting, Carrie. That's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Yeah, Babs, you're right. So there was a school up in Gallatin. It was the cheapest one, and they had a horrible abuse record. And Seth said, no way, right? Um, you know, yeah. Carrie Starr says, yes, MS. I've been saying the same thing. And Karen Power says, supposedly the B Sox would vacation with Sheriff Sonny Weatherford and his wife, allegedly, in my opinion. Oh, wow. I did not hear that one. Wow. Hmm. Carrie says, Rogue says, Carrie, I do not know. She said his eyeglasses were with him, though, as far as more than one pair with the same prescription. That I have no idea. Seth might know. Yeah, he said, I can't remember where he was being interviewed. It wasn't on his panel, I don't believe, or on his channel. But he said something to the effect of that Sebastian had, a couple of pairs that, he had to be replaced because, he broke one in PE, and that sort of thing. But I don't know about the prescription level either. You know what I mean? If he had like an old pair of glasses, right, that weren't exactly like the prescription. Um, I think he was at his mom's house too, Lori said. Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. And because I think he wasn't probably wanting to go over to the house and, all that sort of thing. And we all know what happened to Sheriff Sonny, right? Oh my goodness. Rest in peace to Sheriff Sonny Weatherford. I mean, Adam Forever 21 says, and you don't hide while your spouse is out talking nasty on channels. Yes. The whole arrangement is not right. She hides like a mouse and talks like a psycho. Oh yeah, absolutely. And she's a lot more bold and brazen than, she puts herself out to be online. Absolutely, Adam Forever 21. Carrie Starr says they claim the ones found weren't the right prescription. However, every time you get glasses, they check your vision, and most times it does change a little bit at least. Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you're growing up too, right? You know, it's going to be a little bit different here and there. Sasha says, I don't either, but a bunker is a possibility. Everything's possible right now, you know, except for really to me that he walked out on his own, in my opinion, because there would be footage of that. That's just, you know, why I'm speculating in that direction. Um, yeah, that's true. How about getting ready for bed, just chilling? That's what most 15-year-olds do. Exactly, Karen Powers. That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thanks for being here. I'm sorry your internet froze up. Yeah, that is super odd, Meg. Yeah, the whole 15, you know, the whole playing in his room at 15 years old, that's odd to me. No, totally. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, I mean, it's like, oh, did somebody? Oh, thank you, Kiki. 2005, or excuse me, 2025 True Crime says, thank you for your super chat. Says, in my opinion, really odd. Won't let America's Most Wanted in Sebastian's room. Could it have been? Oh, they have it ready for CP's daughter. Oh, wow, that's an interesting theory. Yeah, because I can see them doing that. Maybe. Wow. Yeah. You know, there's a reason why they didn't want to do it. And that could have been one of the reasons, right? That it wasn't his room anymore. Wow, that's I could see that being true. Meg says, and he's not an eloper, but she doesn't know why he walked out that door. Exactly. And they've been saying that too. And, you know, they've maintained that until they went on America's Most Wanted. I know that she did tell Nancy that maybe somebody has Sebastian, you know, when Nancy asked her, you know. Sammy says, you may not know this Duchess is a friend with Katie's cousin. Yeah, I believe the cousin, whole house was searched, and the cousin asked Duchess to tell the story. She had done an interview offline. Oh, okay. The P.S. But Chris didn't help himself, and when he stated talking about the case, they called it, and that was their first interview, and I don't think they intended to ever go on YouTube in the beginning. Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying, Sammy. Yeah, so basically, Katie's cousin watched Duchess, right? Was a fan of Duchess and asked her to, you know, please look at Chris and Katie's case, right? Or Sebastian's case, excuse me. And, you know, talk with Chris and Katie rather. And so she did. But yeah, they did have, you know, Katie's cousin who set that all up. But yeah, you know, and I don't know what their intentions were really early on, but it's just one of those things, you know. Cece says, in my opinion, Katie has been studying deception detective and Mike Damon. She now knows what to say, but her body language says otherwise. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's hard. That's what the hard thing, right? Because you can't change that. And I think that's why I wanted to kind of slow these down too, so you could see that body language, you know, more pronounced. Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Cece. Yeah, I agree, Rogue. Something just doesn't feel right with Craddock. It's my intuition, third eye, if you will. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Bab says she can study everyone she wants to. Her body language, her train of thought, her soul cannot be changed. It reveals everything. She does not care at all, and it is glad he's gone, in my opinion. I agree. I agree. It's very well, you know, that's really well stated, and you could really see that, you know. Yeah, well said, Babs. Absolutely. A bunch of bullshit, Lori says. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Lolo says, why on earth does CP think it makes him look good when he tells about making Sebastian get rid of the husbands, the cat and snakes? Yeah. Oh, I know. I don't understand it either, Lolo. It's like, why do you brag about it, you know? And it's something that really upsets people, you know, I mean, rightfully so. Um, yeah, absolutely. And Sasha says basically she wasn't worth having a cat. He wasn't that attached to her. Wow. He isn't that into her. He must more about Sebastian, in my opinion. Well, and you know, I mean, I think it was really a power and control thing, you know, because there's lots of stuff that you could do if you're allergic to cat dander, you know. Hey Lolo. And Cece says, I somewhat agree, Babs. Overall, I think she is glad he's gone, but maybe have some moments where either she misses him or wish things would have turned out differently. Yeah, thanks, Cece, for that comment. And you know, there could be a little bit of both going on there, right? There could be a range of emotions. Absolutely. You know, MS said, so Seth and Tony have a live all set up with Gabby Petito's dad as the guest, and Petito canceled because him, his family, and their foundation got threats. Yeah. Yep. MS. That's my understanding from what Joe Petito said. Um, Meg says, as CP said it in his own words, Sebastian thought calling CPS would make him have to leave his own home. CP felt threatened, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's like, Sebastian thought he was going to get me kicked out of my own house and stuff. Well, you know, I think a better, you know, question would be, why did Sebastian want you out of the house? What were you doing to him, you know? Um, excuse me. And Bab says, oh, I didn't know that trash clues stated that. Geez, scratch that. Clue is trash. Sorry. Well, you know, sometimes she tells the truth, so it's really hard to tell, you know, Babs, it really is, you know. Rogue says, I'm sorry for all the typos tonight, folks. So I'll do better. Rogue, you're fine just how you are. Let's see here. Oh, Michelle says all of their actions speak volumes. They not even waiting for a search to get good coverage, even if a year they get rid of this stuff pretty much and move away from home, and that would that he would remember. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I agree. Jen said this is quite the band of scumbaggery going on in this town that the FBI needs to be called in, since Snuggle Struggle isn't going to do it. This case needs help now, in my opinion. I agree. I agree. And, you know, I just don't think that he's going to invite them in. You know, unfortunately. I agree, though, you know. Bab says, per Seth, Sebastian wore slippers to take out the trash at KP's home, and his slippers were in his bedroom at the Proudfoots. Okay, thank you for that, Babs. Thank you. Sammy says about the blanket was originally stated, but the neighbor across the street who had it on camera, those neighbors came out and talked in the first few days. They did a phone interview. I'm sure she did it for cameras. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Sammy. Mm-hmm. Barbara Rose says, Chris Watts said if his girls come home, he would barrel roll them and he would put them in a barrel of oil, right? KK said she would bulldoze Sebastian down if he came home. I wonder what, uh, I wonder if she was telling some truth. Yeah. that was a very bold statement, right? You know, and she said, I bulldoze him to the ground with hugs. You know, she pauses in there, Baba Rose. Very good point. Yeah, absolutely. And then Chris Watts says, barrel roll the girls, and he put them into barrels, like big drums, you know, at his work. Pamela Roberts, good to see you. Pamela Roberts says, we have dissected every word and movement of these two, but isn't it time to examine LE and their involvement? Yeah, I think it's high time we kind of figure out what's going on, Pamela. You know, I mean, it is very frustrating. We don't see any traction in the case, and you know, we haven't heard from Craddock. It is frustrating. I understand what you're saying. I do. I don't know if their house is vacant, you know? I really don't. Yeah, I am too. Bear Sybil had like 18 personalities, I think. I was trying to recall all of them. There was like the little girl one, and then there was like the lady that was kind of more promiscuous. And Carrie Starr says, Pamela Roberts, 100%. I think they need reported to the Attorney General for investigation into the countywide corruption, in my opinion. You know, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. Vanna says they probably afford a school or facility in Mexico. You know, Vanna, there has been a strong Mexico connection, right? And we even have Sebastian's missing flyers in Spanish, you know, so I wouldn't put it past them for anything. That's true, Carrie Starr says, if I was a content creator and had all this stuff documented, I would file it myself. I just don't have all the proofs clipped and saved. Yeah, I mean, I've tried to clip and send to law enforcement, and I didn't get a response back, so I don't know. But I understand what you're saying, you know. And Bab says, Carrie Starr, I'm sure there's been so much that has been sent to the FBI, TBI, and Sumner County from everything on the internet. But CP and KP, why why they haven't been arrested for at least abuse and neglect, no clue. Yeah, and that's always a point of frustration, right? Everybody's wondering that, and I really believe that, you know, they're going to wait until they charge them for foul play, and then, you know, add those charges on, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, you know, and I think they're waiting to find Sebastian. I really am, you know. And Pamela Roberts says, why are they not doing search warrants on properties, and why no forensics on the house? They don't want to upset the Proudfoots. Yeah. Well, and they would just have to get a probable cause, you know, affidavit, you know, present that to the judge, get the search warrant, you know. Oh, Sammy says, I'd also heard that those were reading glasses. Oh, always wondered how random shoes got in the side of the road. Definitely wonder how random glasses. What about the apartment they were saying that that CP has? That's a good question. I know I've heard that, but I don't know if it's true or not. Bab says they got a warrant to search the landfill in a matter of hours. It's been 15 months and still no search warrants at the Bowersox properties. Yeah, absolutely. It makes you wonder, Babs. It really does. It really does. I think Seth said they weren't the right prescription, but I think that was by law enforcement. Yeah, he did act normal and polite and just a regular kid, super smart kid, chess, bowling, magic, you know, D&D, and yeah. Vanna says, did anyone see Mob Crew's latest? He said something about the Stinky Pete's house having a crawl space underneath the house, and they might have gone in and out from it to travel to the lights video. Oh, interesting, Vanna. I did not see that. I'll have to go look. Adam Forever 21 says John Coffendoffer even thinks Ellie is not doing their job well. Yeah, and she talked to us about that, right? How they had to be invited in, you know. Lori says, I think it's because they got rid of all of Sebastian's stuff. I think Faith already has a bedroom in the back. She did. Yeah, she already does have a bedroom. That's true, Lori. Yeah, and I think they did too. I think they got rid of her stuff, or rid of his stuff rather. I do, because why not have the cameras come in and see how Sebastian's room looks? You know. Yeah, that's a good point, C. Taylor. They may have been doing that, and law enforcement wouldn't likely make that public. That's for trial unless the press gets it beforehand. Yeah, I can see that, C. Taylor. That's a good point. Yeah, I think so too. Babs. Lolo, I think it's funny how KK tries to act cool by saying dude. Carrie Starr says, there was also rumors that replaced the carpet in his room, and if anything was packed up and it was shown by America's Most Wanted, Seth would know. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I agree with that, Carrie. Yeah. There's lots of stuff that he brags about that makes him look horrible, and I don't get it. I know. Exactly. It is odd to find similar glasses out in nowhere, by the Bowersock's house. Very weird. And Vanna says, yes, Rogue, it's a 4-foot high. Crawl space is actually pretty tall. I had one in the house about that height, and it wasn't uncomfortable, but I'm 5'4". Yeah. And I mean, Chris and Katie aren't terribly tall. Hey, James Cooper, good to see you. Says, what is really sad is that they are still even talking about Sebastian when even professional crime analyzers have said the same as well, and we all believe and said in Tennessee, LE has done nothing. I agree, James. Well said. Yeah, absolutely. More like a hee-haw version of Blue's Clues to me. Oh, that's funny, Michelle. YouTuber says Sebastian thought he would get me put out of the house was a major slip up from CP. It gives away a likely motive and that he likely was asked to leave the house by CPS, in my opinion. I agree, YouTuber. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, SI officer, good to see you. I know, I'm about to hop off here too because I have some things I want to prepare. And boy, it's just been a long weekend. My goodness. A lot of stuff to take in and all of that stuff, Nothing will change in Tennessee until this horrible Governor Lee is out of office. He doesn't care about anything but money for his pockets. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I do, and it's unfortunate. Admitted abuse of special needs, and why aren't they in jail? I mean, Babs, it's unreal. It really is. Hey, Lainey says, I found what I think might be an entrance inside the house at the crawl space. Oh, to that crawl space, excuse me. And I don't trust Sumner County, in my opinion. Honestly, I tried to send it in earlier, but my email wasn't working right. Oh, Lainey, dang. I hope you can get it sent over. It's so hard, because I don't know if they're really looking at this stuff or what. I mean, I think they are, I'm not trying to be, bust out the tinfoil hat, but good Lord. Sammy says, LOL, ironically, someone just put a video called Dissociated Parents about the P's 1 hour ago. I'm starting to be more concerned with whether there's a judge or a DA being an obstructionist. Well, you know, I mean, as far as it's went, and the public all knows, and then, you know, it's just SI officer says exactly they do have evidence, yet here we all are, sit and wait anxiously. Yeah, yeah, I agree, SI officer. Aw, thanks, Rogue. Thank you. Sammy says, I thought I heard something about someone saying there wasn't enough probable cause for a warrant, and I don't know if that was for the B-Sox phones or property or judge or DA, just rumors. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It is hard to tell. And they've kept everything so close to the vest, so it's just really hard. Yeah, and it's hard because we don't know what all they've done. I know, Sasha. I know. It's so frustrating, you know. Bab says, SI officer, I am too. My mind can't do this speculation nation anymore. I just want justice for Sebastian. Not that I don't appreciate the creators that are trying to do good, but I'm in overload. Oh, absolutely. I think we all are, you know, Babs. It's true. I mean, all we can do is keep praying, and hopefully all of this evil will come to light. You know, all of the things these people are doing, just all of it. And I just really hope Sebastian's found soon, because I feel like that's what they're waiting for. Do I think that they might be close to that? I don't even know. You know, it's hard to tell. It's hard to get a read on Craddock when he hasn't come out. He'll only pretty much post on Facebook or answer email back. So, you know, it's just so hard to tell. But I've got some things planned for us for tomorrow night. And, you know, since I took off Saturday, did, you know, Sunday Night Live, which usually I'm off on Sundays. So I'm just so glad to be here with all of you guys tonight. And thank you all so much for being here. You know, C. Taylor, Babs, Rogue, James, Pamela, Kiki, SI Officer, Meg, Sammy, Lainey, all of you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sasha, Vanna, Lolo. So good to see all you guys. Michelle, of course, and Lori. And thank you guys all so much for, you know, your smart conversations. Adam Forever 21 and YouTuber. You know, just so great to have all of you guys and all of your smart comments. I know all of you care so much about Sebastian, and I know it can be so frustrating. Just all of the things that we are seeing in this case, you know what I mean? And it's just, I know that our opinions are, or excuse me, well, maybe our opinions are also wearing thin, but our, you know, patience can wear thin because we just want the answers. But I will see you all tomorrow. Please stay safe out there. Please say prayers for Sebastian. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you all so much.